APPNA members. This is your host, Dr. Tariq Alam, member of the APPNA Communication Committee 2026. Welcome to another episode of APPNA Café. This is an important episode. APPNA elections are just round the corner. APPNA elections are exciting, they create a lot of buzz, they can also be contentious. APPNA has seen its worst and the best during these elections. We are honored and excited to have Dr. Khushnood Ahmed, the chair of the Nomination and Election Committee, join us for this episode. Welcome, Dr. Ahmed.
Thank you so much.
Before we start, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved with the NAC?
Sure. Well, first of all, I am honored and appreciative to join you for this interview, and I think it's an important issue, the important segment of APPNA organization, elections every year. It's a democratic process. So my name is Khushnood Ahmed. I'm the graduate of Nishpur Medical College class of 1990. Have been in the U.S. Since 92. I was in New Jersey first and then subsequently moved to Dallas in 2011. I've been involved with APPNA for as far as I can recall, since the early 2000s in different capacities. And this is my third year serving on the Nominations and Elections Committee, and I was honored that I was elected as chair this year for this important function of APPNA.
Dr. Ahmed, as you know, that APPNA is one of the largest democratically elected society of Pakistani diaspora all over the world. So that is a big responsibility. And you are the chair of the Election and Nomination Committee, directly overseeing the democratic process. Do you feel the weight and the burden of this responsibility?
Yes, sir. It is a huge responsibility, and I basically have a huge support of the Nominations and Elections Committee members. The committee is consisted of 9 members, and each member is from different alumni. And I have a huge support, and any issue that comes up, we discuss in the committee. And basically, our goal is to follow the bylaws and conduct absolutely fair election without any bias, and oversee the campaign, oversee the election process, and make sure it's basically as clear as it can be.
Absolutely. So my next question is that since the 2021 bylaws were enacted, the NSE has a different mode of existence. Initially, it was appointed by the president, and there were a lot of questions raised. So what is the process of the appointment of the NSE now, and how does that ensure transparency?
Oh, absolutely. Instead of appointed by one person, now the nominations actual committee members are appointed by the council, which means that there are 50 members of the council, and those are the presidents of all alumni, small or large, presidents of different chapters. So everybody has a say in it, and basically the members get nominated and then get elected by the council. So it's a lot more democratic process as opposed to just appointed by one person.
I see. The members of the Nomination and Election Committee are from many different alumni. So would you like to throw some light as to how these members are appointed and which alumni do they broadly represent, and how does that translate into the perception that APPNA conducts free and fair elections?
Yes. So like I said, right now there are 9 members, and they are represented by many different alumni. For example, I'm from Nishtar. We have somebody from KE, somebody from was from Allama Iqbal. We have somebody from Dow. We have somebody from Sindh. Somebody from Fatima Jinnah Medical College. So basically, pretty much even it basically gets rotated. Like we have several alumni, but members are only 9. So hopefully next year there will be 3 new members, and they'll be from different alumni. They're not represented this year, and so basically
a broad-based representation.
Yes, sir.
I see. So the perception is that the Nomination and Election Committee is only involved in the conduct of elections for president and BOD, but are there other elections that your committee also oversees? within APPNA?
No. So our main role is really to basically conduct the elections of the board of directors as well as the president-elect. But process is not as simple as it appears. As soon as the new year starts, we get to work. We have to develop the code of conduct, standard operating procedure, refine that. It's sent to the board of directors. We wait for the approval. So once it gets approved, by the time we get closer to the summer convention, we are ready to go with all our code of conduct and all the rules, regulations they are in place. So the work starts from January 1st, even though our maximum time is spent during these 2-3 months when the election actually starts.
I see. So that's an interesting point that you have raised, that the work of the Nomination and Election Committee starts from 1st of January, but of course, the official start of the campaign is on 1st of July. So we have heard many things about the code of conduct. What exactly is the code of conduct? Who makes this code of conduct? And how does your committee ensure that it is followed in letter and spirit?
So the code of conduct, like I said, from the start of the year, we developed this code of conduct. Basically, we take guidance from the bylaws. So essentially, we have to stick with the bylaws, and based on which we extrapolate some of those rules, and we develop that code of conduct. And essentially, that involves how the campaign should occur, how should the nomination process go forward, what is the responsibility of the nominees before they become the candidates. And then eventually the code of conduct is shared with the candidates as well as with the general membership. And one of the reasons is we want to be as transparent as possible. So the general membership also needs to know what those rules or regulations are, what the code of conduct is. In case a candidate violates any code of conduct, then the members can bring that to our attention. And then our role, of course, is to make sure that no violations occur during the campaign process and it remains as clean as possible.
I see. So, what are some of the salient features of the code of conduct which all contestants need to be aware of? And if they do not adhere to that, then that can result in action.
Yes, sir. We absolutely discourage any negative campaigning. Now, if the negative campaigning is done by the candidate or one of their close friends, we obviously hold them accountable. We can trace them and find the evidence. So this may be a little bit challenging in some situations. For example, in this era of social media, somebody might be sitting even abroad and basically posting something, and that is very difficult to trace. And when you talk to the candidates, they may not have a clue who posted it, or at least that's how they express it. But mainly, we discourage any intrusive campaigning methodology. For example, direct phone calls, robocalls, direct text messages, direct emailing. But we recognize the candidates, they spend a lot of time and effort and money to try to reach the membership, and we're trying to provide a lot of different avenues so they can reach the membership in a clean and according to the bylaws.
You raised a very important issue about time and money. And I would like to talk about the money that is spent in these elections. There is a perception that APPNA elections are very expensive. Contestants are trying to reach almost 4,000 plus members. So who oversees the campaign finances within APPNA during these elections to make sure that the elections are not that expensive and even an ordinary member is able to afford these elections?
And that's a very important point. And I think this may be the topic that the APPNA Board of Directors might want to take, whether they want to put a cap on the campaign financing. But as of now, the best Nominations and Elections Committee can do is we discourage any paid advertisements. We discourage, actually, it's against the bylaws, any paid advertisement. The candidates cannot sponsor any events. They cannot sponsor any chapter meetings, for example. So none of that, it's permitted, just to try to minimize all the expenses. So we don't want to have the kind of lopsided, one person can spend a lot of money, the other person cannot. And historically in the past, in fact, I know for a fact that some actually candidates end up spending $80, $90, $100,000 on their campaign.
Okay.
And that was where these rules, bylaws actually came from, that we want to discourage extra or basically just too much expense as part of the campaign process. But we don't have any cap per se, and I think that may be something the board of directors may want to consider.
Well, thank you very much for that clarification. I think a lot of people are looking forward to that clarification, and coming directly from you helps them. Now, although you said that the committee discourages a lot of these campaignings, methods and methodologies, yet we see right from the start of the year that candidates are attending different, events, and they're posting pictures which otherwise they would not post as. So, how do you basically tackle this kind of indirect campaigning that is happening, and how do you feel that that affects the outcome of the elections?
Yeah, so that is unfortunately very hard to really track and control. If there's a meeting, they show up, they are part of that meeting, and they post some pictures. I mean, there's no way for us to stop it as long as they're not spending any money sponsoring the event, or as long as they're not paying for any of the sponsorship or any of the events, any chapter meetings. So as long as they're not paying for that, just going and attending an event and meeting with people, obviously that is not something that we control.
It's a two-edged sword over here because, you really cannot control, and yet you have to follow the guidelines and the bylaws that exist over there. A perception within many APPNA members is that the code of conduct is extremely restrictive, and candidates are not allowed to call and they are not allowed to attend officially any of the programs. And that is why that is resulting in candidates actually unofficially, campaigning. So do you think that loosening the code of conducts and letting the candidates officially go and meet people will actually result in more adherence to the code of conduct?
So, and the code of conduct, it appears it may be very restrictive, but the main restriction is really directly reaching the membership via phone calls or text messages, emails. Those are considered as intrusive. But we still try to provide a lot of the avenues to candidates to reach the membership. And again, if they're reaching and attending, going and attending some of the events, it's very hard to stop that. But we obviously, it's against the code of conduct for them to spend any money in terms of sponsoring any of the events. Having said that, like I said, we provide a lot of the avenues. We're going to host a board of directors debate separately on a Friday, July the 3rd. And on the 4th, on Saturday, we will have a debate of president-elect candidates. Also, we provide ad in our APPNA magazine. We send 3 emails for each candidate to general membership, where the candidates can share their brochure, they can have a recorded message, they can develop their website, that they can have their website link to that email. And they can develop a Facebook page that they can actually post, and their friends can post and basically tag them. They can share their phone number. If anybody is willing or wants to call them, they should welcome that phone call if they have any questions. So everything else is basically allowed, and it can be done to reach the membership, except those intrusive phone calls and methodology of campaigning.
Right. Well, I really appreciate that clarification. Now, what are some of the punitive actions that your committee takes whenever the code of conduct is violated?
Yes, sir. So if the code of conduct is violated, first of all, as members of NEC, if I get a phone call or another member gets a phone call, internally we have decided that we're not going to follow that and file a complaint. The reason for that is if one candidate calls me and we go after that person who violated the code of conduct, it may come across as targeting one particular candidate by NEC. So we have decided internally we're not going to pursue, but we encourage the general membership, if they feel like the violation has occurred, let us know, but please provide evidence with that. Otherwise, it becomes hearsay, and there's no way for us to hold any candidate accountable. If it's just an allegation, without any evidence, it's just the allegation. There's no way for us to prove it. The other process is Normally, the NEC, we have 9 members, simple majority, we can pass certain motions. But when it comes to the punitive motion, to punish somebody, fine somebody for violating code of conduct, we need 7 out of the 9 votes. So basically, the burden of proof is a little bit heavier. We don't take it lightly.
Right. Well, that's a great clarification. Now, you did mention that members who feel that the code of conduct has been violated can reach out to the NSE. And I think a lot of members would like to know that because, you have friends and you have friends of friends who are contesting elections. So what is the process of transparency and to ensure that the member who reports is not targeted by others? So what is the confidentiality provision over here if someone complains to the NAC?
So we basically don't make it public, but if there's any allegation against a particular candidate, we do let that candidate know that there has been complaint against that person. We try to interview that candidate as well, just to prove one way or the other what is their involvement. If we need to, we can interview other people as well. And we do want to look at the evidence. We try to trace the evidence. And if it's proven that violation has occurred, then the candidate is notified the violation has occurred and the amount of fine, as well as we notify the central APPNA in that case.
So as chair of the NSE, you can tell this thing for sure that the member who is going to complain, his privacy will be protected.
Correct. We do not make it public. We do not let anybody know. We do not even let the candidate know against which the allegation has been filed.
Right. So talking about the membership list, that has also been a very contentious issue. Candidates have said that the membership list should be provided to them much earlier in the course. You probably have a set timeline. So what are your opinions on access to the membership list by the candidates at a certain time in order for them to reach the membership?
Yes. So this has been obviously very, very controversial issue. And when the new bylaws were developed in 2021, and obviously the central APPNA also listens to the general membership, and general membership basically complained a lot that candidates were reaching and calling members during family dinner time, during meeting, during important events. Your phone is ringing, text messages are coming, and that's when they developed this part of the bylaws that the candidates cannot basically call or text directly to members. And I understand that the candidates need to reach the membership, and there's a discussion on the back end that maybe to develop do not call list of the members. If any of the members they wish they should not be called, that list can be private, and that list cannot be shared with the candidates. Having said that, NEC does not have the list of the membership. Right. Membership committee has the list of membership. We don't have access to that. We do not share with any of the candidates. If somehow in the previous years there have been reports that the list got leaked, it did not get leaked from the NEC. If it got leaked from some other source. We do not get the list until this year. We'll get the list on July 31st, 3 days before the election ballots are going to go out. And that is when we actually review the list. We make sure the list is accurate, is verified before we submit to the election company. Until then, we have no access to the list.
I think that's a great clarification that the Nomination and Election Committee does not have access to the list, nor you have any provision to propagate the list or disseminate the list to any members till you actually get it on 31st of July. So this clarification, I think, is important for the general membership to know, because this has been a controversial issue in the previous years, and there are a lot of questions about this. Does your committee collaborate with the membership committee or the ethics and grievance committee in case of preparation of the membership list or in case of punitive actions which come because of the code of conduct violation?
So on the back end, there is some communication, but the code of conduct violation, when it comes to us, we investigate. And if there's a member, for example, who violated the code of conduct, candidate is not responsible for that, and that will be referred to the Ethics and Grievance Committee, so they can look into that member's potential violations. But if it's the candidate who is involved, then it's NEC's responsibility to investigate and basically take action. As far as the appeal process goes, if let's say NEC decides that the candidate should be fined, the candidate still has the option to file appeal to the Ethics and Grievance Committee.
I see. That's a great clarification. So thank you very much for that. Dr. Ahmed, recently there has been a lot of debate happening in groups that who gets to vote in APPNA elections and when do they qualify to vote in these elections? There has always been a debate about annual members, and there has been a debate about lifetime members, or having someone being vested in the organization before they can make a decision about choosing the elected officials of the organization. So does the NSC have any recommendations about who can vote in these elections, and if there needs to be a certain investment period of membership before people can vote?
Yeah, and that's another very important point. So there are two schools of thoughts on this one. And again, we follow, like I said before, we follow the bylaws, and the bylaws basically say they were changed in 2021. And before that, you had to be a member for 2 years, and that's when you could vote. But now, one school of thought is we need to increase the membership of APPNA. There's an estimate there are more than 15,000 Pakistani physicians, but we only have 4,300 members. So we need to encourage other people to become members, and this is one way of increasing the membership during our summer convention, that people can register and they have become eligible to vote as long as they are registered by this summer convention. The other school of thought is, of course, like you mentioned, that the members should be vested and interested in APPNA, not just become member that particular year and they are eligible to vote. So that is a debate that basically can still be addressed on the back end, but this was addressed and the bylaws were revised. The other debate that's going on in the background is that the resident members, basically the young physician members, there are more than 200, I believe there are 208 members as of now, to encourage them to become members, and we can give them the option also to vote. And the thought is, they are smart enough to graduate medical school. They are smart enough now to become residents. And they make decisions to treat patients. They are smart enough to make decision who should they vote for. So that discussion is going on the back end, whether to give them the right to vote as well, and to encourage for all our youngsters to become members. Because one of the main issue people don't want to become members is they think some of the senior APPNA members, they basically are controlling APPNA, and the young physicians don't have the opportunity to step forward.
I really want to thank you for clarifying this point, because this is a contentious issue. I know that many members perceive residents and fellows as a vulnerable population who do not know the intricacies of the organization. So making sure that our elections are free and fair and legitimate, there's a fine balance to be achieved over there. So thank you so much for basically touching over that very important point. I would like to talk a little bit about the elephant in the room. And you had mentioned this earlier briefly, but I would like to talk a little bit more in detail about negative campaigning. Negative campaigning that happens on unofficial channels. Does your committee have any jurisdiction on investigating those aspects?
So, negative campaigning is absolutely forbidden and discouraged. Now, with the new era of social media, and negative campaigning does occur, unfortunately, and we try to investigate, especially when there's a grievance that's filed with evidence. We try to trace it and trying to find it. And some of the phone numbers, for example, when you call, there's no answer. They don't even exist. Some of the accounts on Facebook, for example, somebody posted, when you're trying to track it, it doesn't exist. You can't find it. So unfortunately, that's why even all the kind of smartest law enforcement people, basically, they're trying to work on that one, trying to find it's really very, very difficult for the NEC to trace those negative ads or negative campaigns. But we do encourage all our candidates that please just ask your friends and colleagues, stay away from the negative campaigning. And I can tell you, being part of APPNA for so long and being in NEC for 3 years, candidates who stay on message, positive message, what they bring to the table, what are the things that can do for APPNA to make it better, instead of negative campaigning, they end up actually becoming successful and winning. So I strongly encourage all candidates to stay on message and stay away from the negative campaigning. And the general membership are very smart. They know they don't like the negative campaigning. And some candidates may think, okay, they're probably putting the other candidate down. It actually does not work.
That's again a very important point. The APPNA membership is very smart and they can read between the lines and they know, even if they do not participate in discussions, who's indulging in what. And I think that this is exactly where we need to emphasize the highest standard of ethics and morality when it comes to our candidates also and their supporters, because we want the very best for APPNA. So thank you so much for saying that. I would like to talk a little bit about the debates. You had mentioned about it, that the debates will happen during the summer convention. There is a perception that not many debates happen, and that's why the general membership is not able to understand the ideas that many contenders want to bring on the table. So what do you have to say about the lack of debates or few debates that happen?
Oh, yes, sir. First of all, the debate format, the way we're trying to encourage that the email should go out shortly to the general membership to submit questions. So the questions should and will come directly from the membership. We receive them, we will review them just to make sure if there are, let's say, 10 different questions on the same topic, we're trying to consolidate them just to save time and also filter some of the questions out. Like you said, they could be negative, they could be political or something that we should not be discussing in APPNA. So they will be filtered. Candidates will not know the questions. First time they will hear is during the debate. And the way we also have the debate format, every candidate has a chance to basically express their views. And yes, I agree, the candidates need to have more reach to the membership, and debate is one avenue. So there will be one debate for board of directors candidates and one will be the president-elect candidates. We will create a Zoom link where somebody who cannot physically attend can also log in via Zoom and they can listen to the debate. We'll record the debate and that recording will be emailed to everybody, all the membership, as well as shared on APPNA websites as well as social media. And this way everybody can hear it. And we will try, and that's our plan, before the election and after the summer convention, we will arrange another debate separate for board of directors and separate for president-elect on Zoom, where we can basically advertise and maximum number of members can also participate in that one. I will record that one as well.
Is there any plan to have more than one or two debates? Because there has been a perception that there should be maybe 3 or even more debates because issues keep evolving and, stances keep changing. So what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, as of now, I think 2 debates, in my opinion, I think should suffice. They should be sufficient. And honestly, for the most part, people who are interested to listen to the debate, they will be able to participate in one or the second debate. And some people who are not really interested in participating in debate, even if you have 5 of them, they probably will not log in. And like I said, even 2 debates are, I think, sufficient as long as they're recorded and shared so people can hear even if they cannot attend.
I see. That leads me to my next question. A lot of people have basically said that the format of these debates is not quite optimal because candidates, they prepare opening statements on major APPNA topics, which is expected to be asked as questions, and then there is not much provision of rebuttal to those questions. There's also a concern that members are not able to directly ask questions at the debate in the summer convention. So what do you have to say about that?
Yes, sir. So these are actually the questions that are coming directly from the members. And the reason we don't have live audience sitting asking questions, there are 2 reasons. One, those questions can be very pointed, may have negativity, political connotation, or some other issue. So it creates a lot of basically, I don't want to say confusion, but chaos almost. So the questions come in beforehand, but the important thing is candidates have no idea what those questions are. They'll be reading for the first time. We actually have forbidden the candidates to look up any of the answers on their phones as well as any of the laptops in real time. So they have to basically answer those questions from their memory. Now, the format that will actually, we have a meeting coming up next week where we're going to basically plan for the debate. The NEC will plan. The plan is to basically randomly we select candidate 1, 2, or 3 with the coin toss, or basically they draw their number. Candidate 1 will have the question that will be asked first, but the same question will be answered by the second or the third candidate, for example, in president-elect category. But the next question will be asked from the candidate number 2, same question then to 3, and then back to number 1. So it'll be rotating. In case if there's a candidate who points out something about the other candidate and the candidate feels compelled to answer, that candidate will have a chance, an opportunity to rebuttal as well. So we have developed that format, which is going to be very fair, and every candidate will have opportunity to express basically their views completely.
So your committee is definitely coming up with some different format to the questions. There was a concern previously that all candidates are basically asked the same question. So the candidate who gets to answer first has less of an advantage than the candidate who gets to answer the same question last, because he already gets a lot of input and he has time, or she has time to think about it. So what do you say about that?
I actually disagree with that. I think the person who gets a question first has probably the best answer that they can give. And I see time and time again, the second candidate will say, I agree with Dr. So-and-so. So the second person actually may not have a whole new idea to present what already has been discussed by candidate 1. But number 2, it's going to be a level playing field for everybody. If, let's say, first question is asked from the first candidate, and second and third are answering later, but the next question will go to the candidate number 2, and the other 2 candidates will answer it later. So it's going to be rotating, not basically the same question asked to to one person. So it'll be rotating. So everybody will have a chance who can answer first, second, and third.
I see. Okay. Now, the next point that I would like to raise is about the election timeline. There has been concern that the APPNA election stretches for too long. What do you have to say about the timeline of the elections?
So the timeline, actually, in my opinion, I think it's not that long. Based on APPNA bylaws in the NEC section, section 10, which is the NEC section, we are required, or we asked to basically ask for nominations 4 weeks before the summer convention. So 4 weeks is barely enough to ask for nominations, and the nominations are then vetted and then accepted, and then we have the candidates, and the candidates have time to think about it, weigh their options, and they can withdraw, and then we have a final list of the candidates. So it's roughly just about 3 to 4 weeks before the summer convention. So this way we can prepare their brochures, we can prepare all the material that can be shared with the general membership. The official electioneering starts on July 1st with the summer convention, and the campaigning goes on for just about a month. Now, is 1 month too long? It can be debated, but the ballots will go out on August 3rd, and last day to vote will be August 23rd. So roughly about 3 weeks of voting. And obviously the idea behind that is, obviously we're all physicians, we work, and everybody's busy. So this way everybody has enough time so they can get back to the computer and vote, and somebody might be on vacation, somebody might be away for other reasons.
Well, thank you for that clarification. There is another concern that by the time the deadline to vote is over, and the duration during which, the time when the election results are announced, that stretches like 3, 4, sometimes even 5 days. Is it really needed when we are doing electronic balloting and the results should be available at that The next minute, once the balloting is over?
So, like you said, we now have the electronic voting. So as soon as the voting is over, on the back end, obviously the results are ready. Now, the election company, they still have to vet, make sure there's no errors, there's no issues with that before they finalize the results. So that does take a few days for them to do that. Now, historically, in the past, there had been some announcements of these election results in winter meeting, and now that time is too long from the election to the announcement. This year, we're trying, and I'm going to have to get approval from the board of directors that as soon as the election is over, we can arrange a Zoom call in which the candidates and general membership can join, and we can just announce the results even before the Canada meeting. But we will have to get approval for that.
So there is a consideration that the election results will be announced sooner rather than later, as has been happening.
Yes, sir. The NEC also feels that once the election is over, we need to announce the results as soon as possible, because it remains, suspicion becomes, suspense becomes suspicion if you basically keep it too long.
And plus creates a lot of anxiety.
Yes, sir.
Right. One very important point that I want to raise is the integrity of the election company. There have been some instances in the past when people have said, oh, well, we know who has voted for what. So as chair of the NEC and addressing almost 4,000 plus APPNA members here, would you, in unequivocal terms, tell us the integrity of the election company?
Absolutely. It is very secure. And I know that some incident happened a few years ago that somebody managed to potentially, that potentially they were able to hack. But since then, the election company has secured it so well that now we've been using for a few years and there has not been any issues. Now, there are some situations, some of the members, they do not get the election, the ballot. And I encourage everybody, once the ballots go out, check their spam email as well, because a lot of the time they may show up in spam. But if they have still not have received it, then contact Central APPNA so the ballot can be sent again.
So you can say this thing with absolute certainty that no one knows who has voted for whom in these APPNA elections.
That is correct. Nobody knows who would, unless there's a member out there who basically gives their password to somebody, can you vote for me? That is obviously their responsibility, not the election company responsibility.
I think this level of transparency is very important. And I really want to thank you for coming up and telling our members that this is a very secure process. This is a very noble democratic process. And you and your committee indeed take this responsibility very seriously. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. This is a volunteer work, and we are all professional physicians. We are not professional in conducting elections or doing other APPNA work. And obviously, everybody loves APPNA, and we obviously try our best. And there may be some situations we may make a mistake. There's an error. So my request is to the membership, please let us know if there's any error and mistake, and we obviously go back to the table and try to correct it, and obviously give us a little bit of grace in case there's a mistake.
Yes, absolutely. Another question which I would like to say is that if you talked about the punitive actions, and you talked about fines that are imposed when it comes to violating the code of conduct, there is a perception that these fines are very minuscule. It's a very small amount. And the amount of money that these candidates are spending, if you compare the fine that is imposed, that is very little. So that basically lets a lot of candidates overcome that initial fine. What do you have to say about that?
You're right. The amount may be very minuscule, but my take on that is if somebody is convicted felon, basically then you have certain impression, and especially in our organization, educated people, cream of the crop, if some candidate is held accountable and fined, I don't think it's about the money anymore. It's about the reputation. It's basically their character that's on the line. So if the membership knows that certain person has been found to be in violation of code of conduct, and that sends a wrong message and wrong signal, and then it's not about the money anymore. It's about the general impression of that person. So that's a lot more important than just the money part.
You're absolutely right over there. And I think, we can just keep emphasizing this again and again that the highest standards of ethics and morality and credibility need to be there at all times. So I hope that the membership hears that loud and clear, and the confidence and trust in our electoral process is always maintained. So, Dr. Khushnud Ahmed, you have served as the chair of the NEC this year, and you have been in the committee for 3 years. That's a long time. What challenges have you faced, or what has been your biggest challenge so far?
Do we have enough time? No, it's been an honor and privilege. And honestly, despite all the negativities, and again, we love this organization. Obviously, we want to contribute as much as we can. But obviously, there are several challenges, but we take these challenges in, with a positive approach. So let's say if there's something that membership or candidates basically point out, we then go back to the table and trying to improve the process. We, instead of taking it negatively, we basically take it positively. We take the feedback and we say, okay, you know what, we can improve on that one. But the biggest challenge generally, that we face is, for some reason, every candidate thinks we're favoring the other candidate, which is absolutely not true. And I've been in this committee for now 3 years, and every member of the committee, their job is that they have a free and fair and transparent election without any bias.
And this is going to be your last year in this committee?
Yes, sir.
I hope that the legacy that you're going to leave behind will be that of absolute service to the organization. Thank you for your service and for all the hard work that you've put in.
Thank you so much.
So, Dr. Ahmed, before we end, this is a council-appointed committee. It has a tenure of 3 years, as you said. There are a lot of potential future candidates who would like to serve in the NSC. In terms of time commitment, in terms of absorbing the pressure from different angles, what advice would you give them?
So if you want to be part of the democratic process, if you want to be part of our beloved organization, do not hesitate, do not look at the negatives, look at the positives. Being part of any committee, and especially the NEC committee, I think NEC plays a very, very vital role. You learn so much, you make a lot of friends, you get to meet with all the future leaders, there are role models, and you get to know so many people, and as a result, you learn so much. I didn't know a whole lot about the bylaws before I became the NEC member. I had to review pretty much the entire book almost. And especially the NEC section, you had to read every single line. So you become very familiar with the bylaws, with the democratic process, how everything works on the back end. So if you are interested, please do not hesitate. Don't look at the negatives. I always give an example. If you worry about getting into an accident, you will never drive. But, so, step up and be part of this process.
Absolutely. And I think being able to conduct an election of the largest Pakistani-American democratic society of the Pakistani diaspora in the world is an honor. It is a commitment. And I would like to thank you, your committee, and all the volunteers who have spent countless hours to make this organization where it is today, making sure that the democratic engine keeps running. So thank you so much, Dr. Ahmed. We really appreciate your time. We really appreciate your candid talk. And I hope that the elections that will happen soon will be a reflection of the highest level of integrity that your committee has put in. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. It's been an honor and privilege. And I just want to mention one last thing. When the election results are announced, they are as secret as they can be. Nobody knows the results, not me, not any of the central APPNA. We get codes, and not one person gets a code. Minimum 2 people get the code, and both codes have to be entered in among the general membership in front of them, and that's when everybody knows the results at the same time. So even we will not know the results until the results are actually announced. So just wanted to basically mention that for all our members.
I think that's a very important clarification, and thank you so much for saying that, for clarifying it for our members. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your host, Dr. Tariq Alam, in conversation with Dr. Khushnud Ahmed, Chair of the APPNA Nomination and Election Committee. I hope you had a clear understanding of the electoral process, the hard work that is put into this effort, and we're looking forward to the results and outcome of a very free and fair APPNA election. Remember, if you happen to be in Orlando, Dr. Khushnud Ahmed will be there. If you have any questions, I'm sure he will be happy to answer that in person also.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for the opportunity. It's been an honor.
Thank you so much. And with that, we come to the end of this episode of APPNA Community Cafe. See you next time.
Thank you.